Wake up. Just one second.
Would it be all possible for you to take the stream schedule video I have posted to the YouTube channel and sort of maybe I need to edit a little bit, but tweak it so that it could fit as more of a during the closing thoughts and not closing thoughts, but social media links. You maybe put that as your stream schedule and maybe your recap of Jay Brilliance and Jaden's as well, if possible.
Well, I think I'm gonna put them in the commercial break. That was weird.
All right, sure.
Okay, so. Okay, so guys, welcome back to the Nintendo Power Zone. Just a quick recap. We did have some audio issues in the first half. They've been corrected for the second half. Apparently, I forgot to sync up my mic properly, so we're not going to have those issues. But we're back, and I'm your boy, Nice193, and again, I am joined by Blues. So we're going to talk about XenoBlade Chronicles 2. So let's go ahead and start with this. Monolith Soft has been a very busy developer. In 2015, they released XenoBlade Chronicles X. They also assisted in the development of Breath of the Wild and Splatoon 2. So when did they find time to make a game as vast and as deep as XenoBlade Chronicles 2? When the game was first announced during the 2017 January Switch event, it was met with a lot of skepticism by both devout and casual fans, who all held the belief that there was no way the game would release in 2017. But on December 1st, the game was released and to pretty critical acclaim. The game is sitting at an 83% on Metacritic, which makes it another runaway success on the Nintendo Switch. But what makes the game so special? What sets it apart from other JRPGs such as Final Fantasy XV? Does it have any relation to Xenoblade Chronicles or Xenoblade Chronicles X? Today we're going to deep dive and give all the answers you seek. So listener beware, there are spoilers abound. Again, guys, that is your second spoiler warning for this episode. If you've gone any further than this, I can't help you. Please don't comment that you're mad at us. You've been warned. But before we talk about any of this stuff, man, I just want to talk real briefly about this game and how I felt about this game. I've played tons of video games in the 34 years that I've been alive. I would say that there's only been a handful of those games that make me really think about life after the game is complete. Just like put me in a deep state of like.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Not a lot of games do that. Most of the time, I play a game to escape a certain sense of reality. You know, not that my reality needs to be escaped in any sense, but you know, this game made me very reflective when it was all said and done. Like for weeks. You know, after I beat the game, like I'm now sitting on the third or fourth week since I've beaten the game. I spent like the first 2 weeks just contemplating the story, the characters, the ending, the motivations. So when it was time to record, you know, an episode, I was like, well, we have to talk about this, you know, just get our initial thoughts out there on the game. And, once I wrap Wild Odyssey, I'm going to start another scripted series just based on Xenoblade Chronicles 2. But I'm still working on a direction for that. But I want to talk about the game in a discussion format simply because, man, it's just... I've been thinking about this game a lot.
There's a lot to talk about and a lot to think about it, though. There definitely is.
But I also want to do this as a sort of different deep dive. I don't want to spend, like, you know, hours of exposition on certain things, but I kind of want to just get through these topics that we have in a concise way. Something, even though we're gonna have spoilers, I want to make sure we're not like completely destroying the game for people. Anyway, I guess the first thing we should start with is the story and characters. Now, it's really hard to talk about a Xenoblade game without talking about his story right away. So the game starts with a salvager named Rex, just going by his, you know, daily life, just jumping into the Cloud Sea, salvaging, getting whatever monies he can from his salvages, and he's just doing his thing. He doesn't really have a care in the world, other than the fact that he's taking notice that Titans have begun dying. And he's seen it a few times.
He's also worried about his village back home, Fonset Village, where he's from. He's been sending money back there. So that's why he's even salvaging, is because he needs to raise money for his village. They're not the most wealthy, they're kind of poor, so he's just trying to help them out over there. And that's his only other care than the Titans and just doing his thing as salvaging.
Outside of that, though, you were led to believe that Rex lives sort of a carefree existence while somewhat living on the edge, because he's kind of like a thrill seeker at the beginning of the game.
Yeah.
So he goes to go reclaim some money from one of his salvaging things when he is told that somebody wants to speak to him, a guy of high power. So that would be Chairman Bana.
Yes.
And Bana tells Rex, when you finally get to him after a bunch of tedious little tasks, that he has a big mission for Rex, and that
will pay a lot of money.
Lots of money. And it is here that we are introduced to our antagonists, Jin, Malos, and Nia.
Well, is Nia an antagonist?
Well, at this point in the game, let's call her an antagonist.
Okay. All right.
At this juncture.
All right.
So they tell Rex that they're going to go very deep into the Cloud Sea. They found some very important ruins, and they are willing to pay him. But they have this little caveat that the person who goes on this mission for them has to be from Letheria.
Yes, the Letherian Archipelago, which is where Fonset Village is, which is Rex's hometown.
So they go ahead. Rex accepts the mission without knowing what the mission is. He's just like, I'll do it because I'm happy-go-lucky, carefree, living on the edge.
Well, no, he needs the big money that Bana's going to pay him to send back to his village.
True,
that's not
but
it's a challenge. He accepts the challenge,
He does it so nonchalantly that it's like, yeah, dude, you might want to start thinking about some consequences, man. Get off the edge. Take a step back. But he goes and he tells his Titan, who's
Acerta.
We'll call him Gramps from this point forward.
Yes.
Just because Acerta is a horrible name and I don't want to keep saying it.
All right.
But yes, he tells Gramps.
For a bit of context on Gramps, Gramps is a smaller Titan who's basically only big enough for Rex to live on and carry Rex around. But that's his home. But later on, we'll talk about how that changes in a sense. But for right now, he's a giant Titan that Rex lives on and rides on.
Exactly. So Rex accepts the mission, tells Gramps he's going. Gramps chastises him slightly. And once the mission takes part, you dive into the Cloud Sea in this amazingly epic cutscene. And from there, Rex leads Jin, Malos, and Nia through the corridors of this building until he finally reaches your first unique beast. All right? It's kind of a cakewalk. Beat that unique beast, and here's where the whole somebody from Letheria must come into play, because only someone from Letheria can open this huge doorway. So once the doorway is opened by Rex, they see a beautiful redhead sword girl. Although we have no context for the fact that she's a sword girl.
Can I have a little question for you? So it was like you were able to they made it clear to piece together the points of the puzzle that the door needed to be opened from someone from Letheria, but they never really directly said that at that moment. They just said one of your kind has to open the door. So the only real things we had was that Bana said he needed someone from Letheria, and they needed someone of his kind. So was there any indication at this point that it had to be what his kind meant was Letheria?
No, and we don't really come back to that point
until much later,
nearly the end of the game.
Yeah, that's what I thought. They never really mentioned it at the beginning. Yeah, it's something that they kind of had to figure out for yourself.
Yes.
All right, just double check.
So they find the girl, and she's in a stasis chamber, and Rex is approaching. When he is warned by, I believe it's Milos, don't touch that. Rex doesn't listen, and takes a sword through the chest for it.
Yeah. I think
Jin slaughters Rex, essentially.
Yes, Jin slaughters him. I thought Malos didn't say it, but Jin said it. Maybe I'm wrong.
I can't quite recall. I'd have to go back. He is warned not to touch it.
Yes.
He does not listen. He is stabbed through the chest.
And he dies
instantly. Just instantly dies.
Game over.
While he's in that state between life and death, he is he is transported to Elysium. We're going to use air quotes for Elysium right here.
Mm-hmm.
He's transported to Elysium, where he hears a bell tolling. Mm-hmm. He must think it's coming from the Praetorium, is what his exact words are. That must be coming from the Praetorium. Runs off, where he sees the redhead girl standing by a tree. She offers him new life as long as he'll take her to actual Elysium.
Mm-hmm.
So Rex has this moment where he kind of freaks out. He's like, "Holy crap, I'm dead!" And he has this realization. He's like, "Oh no, what am I gonna do? Gramps is gonna kill me. Wait, I'm already dead." Blah. Accepts Pyra's offer, who at this point she has acknowledged that she is Pyra. She revitalizes him by giving him a fraction of her core crystal,
which is her life force.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
From there, we see Jin and Malos carrying that stasis chamber that Pyra's in outside of the building, and then Rex bursts through the building out of nowhere, just completely bursts through it, holding this awesome sword.
Mm-hmm.
And he challenges Malos. He challenges all of them to combat, but Malos is the one who picks up his blade, and they go at it in a beautifully done cutscene.
Mm-hmm. Very long cutscene.
So Nia, in the process, I want to go back to Nia because we've overlooked her a little bit. She actually is unhappy with the fact that Jin has slaughtered Rex, but she's still willing to follow orders up until this point. She does not engage in the combat because she thinks it's wrong. She's like, "You've already killed him once." And from there, epic fight scene, which results in the ship that they are on coming under heavy fire. Out of nowhere, Gramps pops up and tells Rex to jump, jumps on top of Ursula, or Gramps, and they fly off.
Well, Nia, Pyra, and Rex all fly off on Ursula, correct?
Yes.
Not just Rex, yes.
It's the group, yes, because at this point, Nia decided that it's time to bail.
Mm-hmm.
So, when the cutscene comes back, we see that they've all landed on, I believe it's Uriah.
Yes. Or, no, not Uriah. Uriah's the third or second one. It's Gormat.
Gormat.
Yes, it's Gormat in the lower legs forest of Gormat. And they're not all together. It's just Rex and Pyra at the beginning. We don't know where everyone else is, correct? Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. Everybody's kind of scattered. So they're looking around on Gormat. Eventually, they come across Gramps' body. He's still alive. And he tells Rex it was like a pleasure raising him. He was a great son, etc., etc. Dissipates into thin air. Rex has another freak out moment. Gramps, no. And then Gramps comes back in this cute, cuddly, tiny Titan form. Yeah, exactly. He's like a rodent with dragon wings.
Yeah.
And he's adorable. He's adorable, but he still has his old man voice.
Yeah.
And he explains to Rex that special Titans have this ability to return to their larval state, which he has done.
Mm-hmm.
So, little brief moment of comedy. Before we move on from that, I was thinking to myself, I was like, they did not set this character's death up very well. When I initially thought he was dead, I was like, I feel nothing because
it's so early.
You've only spoken to this thing for like 10 minutes of total gameplay time.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel nothing for its death. I was like, this is a rare missed opportunity here. Like I felt like this death meant nothing, but I was wrong. He wasn't dead, and
he's a rodent, small rodent.
Comedy ensues from that point forward.
Mm-hmm.
So go on a little further. You find Nia. And
And Dromark as well.
And you get them to join the party. And from there, the story kind of takes off. The whole goal from this point is to take Pyra to Elysium, and everything that ensues is just a byproduct of that initial goal. Along the way, we meet some really fantastic side characters. So, of course, we had Dromark, Nia added to your party. We meet Tora, and first we meet Morag.
Yes, Morag and Bridget.
Exactly. And they are kind of introduced as antagonists in the beginning, but they are government officials for More Ordained. She is like one of their head generals. Morag is a badass. At least the way they portray her is that she's a badass. We actually don't meet Morag first. We meet Bridget.
Bridget, yeah, she's without her driver at the beginning. So Bridget is Morag's blade. Which blades and should we go over the blades and driver concept?
Yes. Let's go over the blade driver concept.
Yeah. So we've mentioned that Pyra is a sword girl. So Pyra is we would refer to as a blade. And so she herself is a weapon, a living weapon. And that living weapon, Pyra, who's a blade, can give her weapon her powers to Rex to wield. And they sort of have to work in unison here to accomplish the goal of combat. Exactly. I guess. And it creates, unique relationships between each driver and their blade. They have multiple blades. And each blade is its own whole character, which is crazy that this game has so many characters.
And to give a little bit more exposition on Pyra, she's not just any blade.
Well, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. They're not there yet.
Yes, Pyra is the Aegis. They do explain it a little bit during that first combat scene between
Morag,
between Malos and
well, they only mentioned it. They don't. It's a mystery. Yes. Morag and Bridget are the ones really kind of explain it.
Exactly. So now that we've got a little bit of information on blades, so we are introduced to Bridget, and she is a hot blue fire blade.
One of the strongest blades in existence. Exactly. Yes. As well.
And what's cool about her is that she is very calm and composed when she realizes that this red-haired, green-cord blade is in fact the Aegis. And she doesn't care. She still decides that she's taking on Pyra. Nice little combat scene ensues. From there, Tora, who is part of the party officially, mentions...
No, not at this point. He's not there. Because they capture Nia. Nia goes missing. Tora saves them. Then they find Tora, and he's part of the party.
Oh, okay. Yes, that's right. All right. So after this epic fight scene, which results in some, a pipe bursting, and Rex and Pyra using their fire powers, despite the water being present, whereas Bridget can't use her fire powers because of the water. They make a run for it. They are introduced to Tora at this point, and from there, I think we should talk about Tora a little bit. Tora is a Nopon, one of the. He's essentially like your Mughals from Final Fantasy VII, those recurring cutesy characters that all Japanese RPGs seem to have. So akin to Chocobo, Kate Sis, Mughals.
And I'd almost like to mention that you say recurring. They're not just like recurring at the world of XenoBlade Chronicles 2, because they are, but these are recurring throughout every single Xenoblade game. They're in XenoBlade Chronicles 1. They're in XenoBlade Chronicles X, which is very weird that they're in X, but
to go that a little aside. Further, there's like a proto version of them in like the Xeno saga.
Yes, there is.
Xenogears. Like to tie the larger Xeno franchise together as a whole, there are proto versions of the Nopons in the previous iterations of the franchise.
But when you think about those previous Xeno Saga games as well as X, they're not the same universes, really.
No, it's kind of like a relation by name only.
Yeah, but the Nopon are always a constant in Xeno games, no matter what universe it's in, which is an interesting thing to think about.
Yeah, I guess it's just become a signature of the developer.
I think so as well, but it's also you could do a lot of stuff with that continuous race. It could tie in a lot of different ways. Was that unifying factors there? Anyways,
exactly. So to talk about Tora a little bit more, Tora is a I guess we could call him a genius despite his characteristics.
Yeah.
He is a genius inventor, and he desires to become a driver, but he can't.
Yes, he does not have the potential to resonate with a core crystal.
Exactly, because not everyone can become a driver. It is exclusive to a certain to certain people. They show a cutscene where his whole family at one point had tried to become drivers, and they were all left seizing on the floor, which was
actually nosebleeds for weeks.
Exactly, which was pretty funny.
Yeah.
But his workaround is for that. He's like, I'm a genius, and I come from a whole lineage of geniuses, and we have all been trying to build our own artificial blade. So
think a robotic blade, just
exactly.
Robot. That's a blade.
So Rex and Pyra obviously want to save Nia because she was kidnapped or she was captured during the ensuing battle. So Tora says, "I'll join your party, but I can't help you until
I get." Yes.
So you are then sent on a couple of fetch quests to help Tora build his blade, which is at this point just called Poppy.
Well, at that point, it didn't have the name yet. It was after
once it's complete. Once it's complete, it is given the name Poppy. And
Poppy Alpha, technically, as well.
Yes.
Because there's different, But right now, the starting Poppy is Poppy Alpha.
Yes, so, and they just call her Poppy. Now, Poppy, her activation scene.
Oh, yeah, that's kind of weird. Yeah.
It's pure, like, fan service.
If anything, it's making fun of fan service, and I think that's sort of Kara's character. That he clearly wants like the whole master. I don't say Japanese, like the thing where the cute anime girl calls him master. That's what he's all about.
She basically functions as the cute maid.
Yeah, cute maid.
The Japanese maid trope, where like they are very subservient and must do exactly what they're told by whomever is paying them. So it's actually pretty hilarious. That first activation scene of Poppy made me laugh. Plus, I just love the look on Rex and Pyra's face.
Oh yeah, there's no other time they looked that just blown away by stupidity.
Exactly, yeah. Like they have the very anime tropey like. No pupils, giant eyes in that moment. Hilarious.
Yeah.
So now that you've added Tora to your party, it's time to go rescue Nia, who at this point, in my opinion, is not worth rescuing.
No, not at all.
She is so annoying at this point of the game. You basically infiltrate a military facility. You save Nia. Which culminates in your first major boss fight, which the name of the boss is currently escaping me, but he's a giant tool. Either way, so you fight him, and then once you rescue Nia, you fight him, you go to make the great escape, only to be stopped
by Morag and Bridget.
And now the blade and the driver are together, and you truly see the badassedness of Morag and Bridget as a team. Ultimately, though, Rex finds a way to get the upper hand. Not going to spoil exactly how he takes the upper hand, but he does. And I love the moment where Morag is like, he didn't take this seriously. He held back. There's genuine, she feels genuinely offended by the fact that Rex did not go all out against her. Epic cutscene though. And it's here we're kind of introduced to the notion in the next cutscene that whatever pain or damage Rex takes on is also felt by Pyra. And something that we're going to talk about a little bit more as we progress through the story. From there, they realize they need to leave Gormott, and I believe they requisition a ship from Tora's uncle.
Uncle Nomon, right?
Yes.
They get some little port.
Yes.
On the nose or whatever of Gormont.
Exactly, yes. But in order for you to get his ship, you gotta do a couple side quests, and once that is complete, the crew takes off and they head for the World Tree where Elysium is said to be at. They are attacked by a giant cloud serpent.
Ophion is his name.
Ophion. We'll talk about Ophion a little bit more later. And they are sent careening down where they land in
Araya's belly.
Araya's belly. They're basically eaten by a Titan, which is great.
It's like the scene in Pinocchio where Pinocchio gets eaten by the whale.
Exactly.
That's all I could think about.
So within Uriah's belly, we meet another character, Vandam.
Best character.
Badass.
Yes.
Vandam is badass. So Vandam is this very strong mercenary.
Head of the mercenaries.
He challenges you, and he makes it think like he's gonna try to steal Pyro away from you, like everybody has been trying to do up to this point. Only for him to say, "Okay, that's enough. I just wanted to test my strength against the Aegis," which I'm like, "Oh, that's badass." Like he just wants to test himself. Hold on one second. One second. All right, sorry, my fault.
No, you're fine.
All right, what was the last thing we were talking about?
Vandam's being a badass for testing his strength against Pyro.
Yes, Vandam is a badass. Just because the fact that he wanted to test his strength. From there,
that's some confidence.
Oh,
and I'd also like to mention that that's not nearly the most badass thing he'll do when you're partying with Vandam.
Not at all. Yeah. So from there, you go on a series of side quests with Vandam, but you also learn a couple things. Like they use the character as sort of like a additional tutorial. He teaches you how to use the topple ability, which is new to Rex at this point.
Yes.
And that's something that will become very effective within the combat later on.
Yes.
And then you take him to the party go to Fonzamima, which
is an absolutely beautiful city.
Oh yeah, dude. I had a lot of Kingdom Hearts flashes while I was here. I was thinking like Twilight Town, if Twilight Town was much more populated.
More or less. I mean, it's even more beautiful than Twilight Town, I'd say, though.
Oh yeah, the atmosphere in that city, the music.
The entire Araya Titan is absolutely beautiful.
It's actually very, one of my favorite Titans visually.
Yes, agreed. It's very surreal in the design, and the city Fonzamima is very, very amazing architecture. But yeah.
Yes. So once you're in Fonzamima, you are tasked. You're looking for somebody who used to fight alongside Vandam.
Mhm.
And once you are there, you go into I guess it's a playhouse or a theater.
Yes. A theater.
And you watch this awesome like play that is setting up it's a lot of foreshadowing in this play to things we're going to find out later. And it's kind of like the story of Adam, who was Pyra's original driver. And,
he more or less, but we'll get into that. It wasn't Pirate's driver, but the driver.
We're getting there. Getting there. I know it's so hard to not get ahead.
I know, yeah. Oh, jeez.
But yeah, you're basically watching the story of Adam and how he freed the world, and you find out that Pyra may have had a hand at doing something bad at the death of 3 Titans in this great Blade War.
Yes. The Aegis War resulted in 3 whole Titans just dying, and they're major Titans that were just like Araya, just like Ormat, in that they not Acerta. Acerta can only fit 1 person. These fit entire nations on them.
Yes.
The 3 whole nations have died.
And one of them, I believe, was Torna.
Torna.
Which is very important later on.
Yes.
Basically, the crux of the story is kind of about
Torna.
The motivation of certain characters is literally because of the fall of Torna and a certain driver.
Yes.
All right. So we come to find out that the play was the actors who were the troupe of actors were led by Cole, and Cole is who you were there to speak to. Cole seems to know Pyra pretty implicitly.
He goes to speak with Pirate in private, so no one else really knows. But then it becomes clear, they know each other from somewhere.
Exactly.
And this also isn't the first time that we've seen this. Acerta, Gramps, and Pyra have had conversations in the very beginning where it's
exactly.
Hey, remember 1,000 years ago or whatever? And it's exactly. For Acerta, it makes sense. For Cole, it doesn't really make sense.
Exactly. But Pyra does refer to Cole by a different name during that private session. She calls him Minoff. From there, the group goes back to their hotel to partake in some rest. Then Cole is approached by Jin and Malos. And they basically say, "You're dying. You don't need to die. We can give you life. We can
just tell us where the Aegis is."
Exactly. We can make you whole again. You don't have to die. Cole / Minoff decides, "I'm not about this life. I'm not gonna,
sell out Pyra.
I don't want any part of what you guys are going to do." But he is the caretaker of a young girl named Iona. And she has overheard this entire conversation, and she doesn't want Cole to die. And she decides that she's gonna approach Jin and Malos and say, "Can you really save Cole?" And they're like, "Certainly can." And they kidnap her. Kidnap her because anime dumb moments.
Yeah, pretty much.
Word is sent to Pyra that they have Iona while everybody's asleep at the hotel. Pyra goes off on her own to kind of, barter herself. Her in exchange for Iona.
Iona, yes.
The group wakes up and they notice that Pyra's missing. They realize that
Iona is also missing.
Exactly, because Cole, makes them aware of this fact. They go running off looking for Pyra. They get to the very top of Fontsamaima,
which is a lot of stairs to climb, mind you. That was kind of almost too many stairs to be worth the build up.
Well, the worst part is that not just that, but the staircase has these streams of water along the side.
You can go down.
Exactly, and I just couldn't help making the characters I had to make them surf down the water. So I actually had to go up the staircase a couple of times.
Yeah.
Because video game reasons. Anyway, so once you get to the top of the staircase, the longest staircase ever known to man. I want to climb those stairs, by the way.
Which is only halfway of those actual stairs too, because there's another section. You just go in from the halfway point.
So once you're at the top, epic cutscene. Who is introduced in this? I believe it's Akos is introduced here. No.
No, it's
It's just Jin and Malos.
No, it's not. Jin's not there. It's the dude who has not who's he cut off ether flow. You know, Blade that would cut off the ether flow, right?
Akos. Yes, that's Akos.
Oh, that is Akos. Okay.
Yeah. So we're
what was his Blade's name? It was like
I'm trying to remember. I'm gonna
it was like Shakespearean, like fairy or something. I think, like not Oberon, but
looking up Akos right now.
Yeah, was it Oberna? Maybe not Oberon, but Oberna. Obrona. Okay.
Yes. So we're introduced to Akos, and Akos is a driver who obviously has a Brona, and as Blues put it, they have the ability to cut off the ether flow, which basically means that the blades and the drivers can't really, power each other.
Blades resonate the ether to give to the drivers in order for them to fight. If you interrupt that, then their blades and their weapons are basically useless.
Exactly. So this culminates in a fight that Rex cannot win. He is not a competent enough driver to figure a way out, and neither is anybody else in the party. The only person who isn't affected by this, I believe, is Poppy.
I don't remember. She generates her own, right? But
exactly, yes, because she
was still not able to do it though.
I believe she was just incapacitated because they beat her up.
Maybe.
It's been about a month since I've played this game.
Yeah, that was a while for me as well.
Exactly. So some of the I'm losing a little bit of the details. But Van Damme makes himself extraordinarily useful during this point.
And let's just talk about how. This is one of those even more badass parts. He stabs himself with his weapons to get the ether from his own body. He says, you can't stop this ether flow. That's his dying wish, is to take these motherfuckers down with him. With his
he just goes all out too.
Yeah.
And it's brilliant. It's just this brilliant moment where you see a character who is already just powerful in his own right, willing to find a way to become slightly more powerful and still just not be strong enough. So
but he gives a lot of hope with that scene. He inspires Rex. And the words, your own war, find your own war. That was Venom's got away with words.
And it was just this awesome fight though, man. Just that moment. But ultimately it's not enough. He is overpowered by the group. And he dies. He dies, which sets Rex off in a way that he isn't set off. He has not been set up until this point. He has not been this mad. He has not been this hurt. And he tries to fight more. But he's about to die.
And it's also worth mentioning, he got set off right at the very beginning when Jin killed him. He got brought back to life. But that was nothing compared to this. This was a whole new level for Rex.
Exactly. It's one of those things where you realize that Rex's own life isn't as important to him as all of his friends, his party members, his friends.
Yeah.
So it actually sets him off a lot more, and it's a good character moment for Rex. But ultimately, again, as I said earlier, he is not a competent enough driver, to fight back against the odds that are stacked against him. And the
cutscene feels so one-sided.
Exactly. He is about to die. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. They're going to kill him a second time.
And there's no coming back from that.
Exactly. And Pyra freaks out. She has this huge freak out moment, and she becomes something else entirely. At this point, we are introduced to the character of Mithra, which is Pyra's
other self.
We'll call it true form.
Yeah.
Original. We'll call it true form with air quotes up until this point. So, Pyra and Mithra voiced by the same voice actress, by the way. And
yes.
I want to say real quick that I wasn't a fan of the Pyra voice.
No.
But the subtle changes she makes
in being Mythra.
Exactly. The changes in her performance as Mythra, I'm like, okay, she is a really good voice actress. Because it's kind of hard to play two characters as one.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Agreed.
And
I just wish that Pyra's voice was still stronger, because it's like Mythra's voice was obviously the stronger between the two, and it kind of made me want just more of Pyra's voice to be, because Pyra's, I don't want to say shy, but she's shy, and it shows in her voice, where it's her dialogue is very, very slow, quiet, and doesn't cuts off a lot.
Shy. I would say Pyra is meek.
Yes, meek. That's probably the word.
She's meek. I would call her meek versus shy. Just she's not like fully confident in her abilities. But in this moment, Mythra activates and she performs what is it, the Arrow of Light special?
Yes, but she also does the foresight, future sight thing as well.
Yes, exactly. Where she basically grants Rex the ability to
see into the future,
slightly into the future. It's very much like Shulk's foresight.
Yes, exactly.
Except that in the context, the difference here is that the foresight is not a combat mechanic in this game, whereas it was in XenoBlade Chronicles 1. It's more of like a mechanic. They use it in cutscenes, but you don't actually have like the predictive abilities that you do within actual combat.
Yeah, and it's kind of weird to me as well that that's not a thing, because it's never really used in any cutscene that's not combat either. It's only in combat-related cutscenes. Exactly. Whereas with the Monado and XenoBlade Chronicles 1, it gives Shulk the power to see it randomly, things that are even more distant into the future.
I honestly think it exists as a way to parallel the two games.
I think so as well.
Like, because Rex and Shulk's journeys up until this point have been pretty similar. Boy gets sword, boy, gets all powerful sword, and goes on an adventure to save the world. It's they're running like a similar course. So I think it was just a way to draw a parallel that will kind of come into play later on in the game, much later on. But I think it was literally just there as a parallel. Like, he also has this ability. It's not really exclusive to Shulk from the first game. And up until this point, we have no reason to believe that these two games have any connection other than like the superficial ones, such as No Pawns.
And just the name title.
Exactly. Well, and if we're going to talk about the Xeno franchise as a whole, not the only games in the franchise that are truly connected are the Xeno Saga games. Because they're direct continuations of one another.
Yes.
And this extends all the way back from Xenogear all the way to Xenoblade Chronicles 2. There's not a whole lot of like overarching themes between these games except for that Xeno Saga for the PS2. Yes, but Pyra wields superpowers, essentially. She is badass.
But yes.
Mythra. Yes, I'm sorry, Mythra. And this actually kind of makes Malos a little happy. He's like, oh, so she's finally awake. And it's one of these moments where I was like, oh, snap. This story is about to get a lot more complicated.
Yeah.
So after that, basically Mythra saves them all, and we move on to Vandam's funeral.
Well, we also just see a glimpse of her just obliterating their core crystals. They're just dead. Those blades are dead. They're not coming back. Just obliterated.
Which just like shows like how powerful
Mythra
truly is. But from there we move into Vandam's death. And Vandam has been buried where he died. That was like the code of the mercenary.
Yes.
I believe.
And, that's how Vandam would have wanted it, yeah.
Exactly. Teary celebration, funeral. And Mythra comes back out, and she basically accosts Rex. She's like, "This is your fault. I didn't want to come out. I was happy asleep. The only reason I'm here is because she wanted to save you," which gives our first indication that Pyra and Mythra are not the same. They share a body, but they are two distinct personalities.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
and not even personalities, they're people. They are two different people in the same body.
Exactly.
Even personalities. Like, they will have conversations with each other as two different people rather than personalities.
Yeah, later on they refer to themselves as sisters.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So Rex is like, "I don't want anybody else I love to die." Now he's trying to get a handle on Mythra. And we move to where do we go from?
From Araya, you go to More Ordain.
More Ordain, where Morag and Bridget are from. Mm-hmm. And this is where Tora really comes into play. Like, Tora's like storyline becomes really interesting. Mm-hmm. And the evil chairman Banna makes his way back into the story.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So, upon arrival in More Ordain, you run into another artificial blade, and she has committed a crime that Poppy is actually accused of, because how many artificial blades are running around? So from there, Poppy has to, maintain her innocence, and they have to get to the bottom of this. Turns out that a little secondary character that we meet upon arrival at More Ordain, this chief scientist, has actually kidnapped Tora's father and forced him to build a horde of artificial blades for an unknown purpose.
And not only did he kidnap Tora's father, he got people to murder Grampy Pon, Tora's grandfather.
Exactly. So they find, the party finds this out. This cannot stand. Mm-hmm. They must bring down, the artificial blade army, which culminates in one of the craziest boss fights ever with
Rosa, right?
Yes, the giant freaking robot. Mm-hmm. So great.
It's like a chibi anime, but it's like very, very big. Not exactly.
And culminates in Poppy having one of the most badass moments in the game, where Tora and Poppy, who have not been part of the battle up until this point, find their way into the battle and just help you lay waste to this giant artificial blade that's being piloted like a mecha. And it's really great. And just it's like this one thing where, like, if this wasn't in the game still would have been good. It just wouldn't have been as good, because this moment is like, it's like 50% epic, 40% comedy, and just 10% badassery.
And it's also how we introduced to Poppy's new form. So in this cutscene, Poppy goes Super Saiyan cute. Super Saiyan cute maid girl. And that's her new form, is Poppy QT.
Exactly. Yes, she does get her first major upgrade here.
Which is interesting, because normally drivers just wield multiple blades, whereas Poppy will transform between different variations of Poppy, which each variation can also be modified by playing the game Tiger to get modification parts for Poppy. And she's fully customizable character, which is a lot of fun to play around with if you actually are good at Tiger.
What I love about the character of Poppy is, though, it's like as the upgrades progress, the sexier the blade gets.
Yeah.
She just gets slightly sexier with each upgrade.
Exactly.
I was like, oh Lord.
Like the original Poppy Alphas, like kind of like child-friendly cute. And then
exactly, yeah.
And it's like you see QT form. It's like, okay. It's kind of not scandalous, but I don't know. It's just more mature in a sense. Exactly. I don't know. And then
there is something that we skipped. We skipped one thing. On the way to fighting giant evil robot artificial blade, we are introduced to a character named Zeke. The Zeke.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Wait, they basically Team Rocket him.
That was way back in Araya, wasn't it? That was actually way back in Orion.
Yeah, we skipped that. So you've had two encounters with him at this point. But yeah, he's during your first encounters with Zeke, he's basically treated like Team Rocket from the Pokemon anime.
Yeah.
Blasting off again. Bing.
Well, see, it's not even that. He does it to himself.
Exactly. Yeah, he is very not incompetent, but he's so severely unlucky that bad stuff just keeps happening to him.
And it's also funny because he has a very high luck stat, and which also is just his luck stat's very high. And I like how he has very high luck. It's just bad luck. Luck doesn't define if it's good or bad luck. It's just luck. And
but the character he's a riot. He really is.
Like Turners is the best mascot he could ever pick. I love it.
Yeah, this stupid little like alien turtle titan thing. Oh, God.
Well, no. He has a little turtle that just is Turners. Yeah. That is representation of his
extraordinarily long.
Oh yeah, tail or something. Yeah, it's not quite a turtle.
It's so weird. It kind of reminds me of Captain Ginyu, like after he became a frog. Like visually, it reminded me of that. But yeah,
and that sort of provides his nickname that Nia gives him from then on is Shellhead.
Shellhead, yes. All right. At this point, Nia is still not a redeemable character. By the way,
no, she never redeemed herself for me.
You see, she did for me, but it was so late in the game.
And that's sort of what killed it. That's left she couldn't redeem herself from me. Because even when she did redeem herself, it's like it's so late. It's just no point at all in this. No matter what, because everything's just like you've missed so many chances on everything. On everything.
All right.
You couldn't come back. No. She never got better for me. But so Zeke's encounters.
Yeah, so his first encounter in I guess Uriah, he basically unleashes a move so powerful that it destroys the ground around him
and sends it down the cliff.
Exactly, just goes straight down. The second encounter is in Moradane, and what does he cause, like a rock avalanche the second time?
Yeah, well, it's just a giant boulder that comes down on him.
Yeah. Like
Indiana Jones style.
And then they're just running for their lives.
Yeah.
Him and Pandoria. This is just so funny, though. Like, he's literally there. He's literally introduced as a Team Rocket style villain.
Yeah, just pure comedic relief. And it's like, at that point, I'd seen some spoilers, like, the next party member is Zeke. I'm like, there's no way. This is my next party member. They're not going to do this to me.
Yeah.
How do you?
Yeah, so from here, from this point of the game, Rex is invited to speak to the Praetor at Indal.
Well, no. We just finished Rosa's dialogue, right? We didn't get to Lotharia yet. Or not Rosa's boss.
You're invited to Indal, but you have to go. To go to Indal, you must.
Well, we're not even there yet. We're still in just post Rosa. So, Bana tries to escape after the Rosa boss fight, and then there's two more members of Torna. Remember? And they try and sort of save Bana and try and put up a fight, and then Morag busts in.
Oh, you're right. Mikhail and Patroka.
Yes, I believe that's their names. Ow.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. Okay. I'm remembering now. Yeah. So that was a pretty epic thing where you realize that Pyra and Mithra have certain limitations. Mithra is not very useful
in closed spaces.
Exactly. Because
she's too powerful and her light-based attacks ring from the sky, etc.
Yeah, she needs open space. Without
open space above ground.
Without it, yeah, you need to be accessing Pyra as long as you're indoors or anywhere that you don't have access to light. So, yes, and so Bana tries to escape. You're right. Patroka and Mikhail show up. They start some stuff. Pyra switches to Mithra, or Mithra switches back to Pyra.
They do some strategic switching.
Exactly.
And then...
Yeah. They basically formulate a plan that requires them to
switch between with Morag busting into then sort of hold them back while they could get them in a position for Mithra to come out and obliterate their core crystals.
But I believe before she has a chance to really do anything, the battle is actually interrupted.
But no, isn't that after? It's Fawn, right? And Fawn comes
Fawn.
in. Yes, is that what her name at that point is, right? Or is it different?
Fawn Lenore, right?
Lenore, yes, Fawn Lenore. She's after the Corklisters went out, I thought, but maybe not.
No, I thought I could have swore that she actually interrupted before Pyra got a chance to use.
No, their core crystals definitely got activated. Then one of them, the girl, went like crazy with the red power. And then Fawn the Norn stops the red power. Then they retreat because they weren't going to stop if the core crystals got obliterated. They were just more angry.
Yes, you're right. You're correct. So she comes in, she interrupts. Petroka and Mikhail seem to recognize her to an extent.
Yes.
And they decide that this battle isn't worth, completing. But they do leave with
and Bono gets away.
Exactly, but they leave with like a fleet of artificial blades. They don't leave empty-handed. They leave and they have a boatload, a literal flying Titan boatload.
Well, it's not a Titan boatload. Isn't that the what's the one? It's not powered by a Titan. I forget the name of it. But it's that black one, the big. You see it everywhere. It's
Dark Aster.
Probably, I don't remember, but it's not powered by Titans, which is why it's such a marvel, I believe.
I remember, man.
It's just been so long at this point.
Yeah, there's so many little details. It just gets really like lost in trying to explain the story after like a month away from it. It's a little difficult.
It is.
All right, but they get away on their big, giant Titanless ship. With all these artificial blades.
Yes.
We don't know what their plan is for them, but there is a plan. From there, the character Fawn Lenore, she tells Rex and the team that
he's been summoned by the Praetor.
By the Praetor. Who we've seen in a previous cutscene, but not really seen this. We've only seen them from behind.
Yes, it was the cutscenes where we saw the man who went to Elysium and found the 2 core crystals, I believe, correct? For the Aegises?
No, they just show him wearing the white coat. You see him standing from behind. And he's like looking up at like this giant like wall carving of the world tree.
Oh, I thought that was after.
No, it's right before. And then it's right before you see it's at the start of this chapter that you see it.
Okay.
But we don't get any other information about him until. So from there we are sent to we're summoned to Indal, but the only way to get to Indal is from Lotharia, which is where Rex is from. So you get this nice chance to go back to Rex's hometown. There's a lot of little character moments here in Lotharia. One of the best moments in the whole game is where Rex takes Pyra
to his parents'
grave. Yeah, that's just like tug at the heartstrings moment. He's like, I know where he's like, this is Pyra. We're on a journey together. I know you would like her. I was like,
and it's one of those things where it's like, to any person who like doesn't get the sentimentalness, it's just you're talking to no one, and that's what they would think. And so it's one of those things where you have to just realize this connection, this or rather disconnect from Rex and his parents that he has to struggle through and go through with his parental relationship, and seeing not having them to grow as he grows up, not seeing him become an adult with Pyra, his new companion. It's just kind of heartbreaking to Rex that they are not there for this. I don't know.
Yeah, it's truly a tug at the heartstring moments, because it's like, imagine, your parents are gone and this is the only form of communication you are going to have with them, and you've met someone who's truly special to you, who will never get a chance to meet them as they were.
Yeah.
But it's just this moment for Rex. It's a nice moment for Rex where he's not like jumping, haphazardly off a cliff into danger. It's just this moment where you realize that, hey, Rex is also a fully, realized character within this world, which I like that a lot.
And there was, for me, an equally more sad, if not, it was equally as sad, if not more, cutscene a little bit afterwards as well with Auntie Corrine, and Pyra.
Yeah, we finally realized who Rex is actually sending the money to. from all his salvaging missions. And yeah, that was a great moment where Pyra's like another one where she says, people would be better off without me. People who get too close to me, they just die. The world would be better off without me. And Anticorin says, Rex needs you. He'd find his way into trouble regardless of you. So it's better that he is with you.
Well, no, that's not even the part that's so huge about it for me. Is that's not the dialogue. It's the Auntie Corrine tells Pyra of Rex's parents and their backstory, and how he came to Fonset, how they died, and that she says that Rex has lost a lot of people in his lifetime, and if you think you're going to bring more loss to him, which is such like a I don't say that's the right idea. Pyra, it will bring more loss to Rex no matter what, and that's sort of why I think they should be. And then Integrans just sort of swerves and says you're wrong because it's like he needs your strength, you need his strength. You can make it right, I guess, from this and not lose. It was kind of weird, but it's just like you need each other, despite you've both gone through a lot. Rex has gone through a lot. And you need each other's strengths. And that was even more heart tugging because it's like Pyra doubted herself as being strong enough for Rex, strong enough for the world because she was going to cause a lot of loss, and that doubt really from Pyra was key. The backstory from Rex was key, just making that just heartstrung cutscene for me.
Right. So after the feels, we it's time to actually head to Indal.
Yes.
From here, Zeke shows up again, and you actually get to battle Zeke this time.
You battled him. No, you battled him the other 3 times or 2 times as well.
Well, like legitimately battle him and without some chaotic ending to the battle.
Well, you always depleted his health bar though.
Yes, but like without a cutscene that just indicates his like impending doom.
Goofed, yeah. I mean, he still kind of falls off the bridge.
Yeah, but
despite.
That's very much after. Like, all bridges have been like, mended. So yes, at this point, after this battle, Zeke joins the party, and you find out that he's actually the envoy. Prince. He's a prince, and he's actually he's a Forsaken prince. He's been cast out of the kingdom. And he's actually working with the Praetor and the Praetorium. And he is the one who is going to be doing all the introductions and whatnot to the Praetor. So from there, we finally go to Indal. And Indal is a very unique Titan, in which it seems like the only civilization within Indal is based around like the Praetorium. So you have your refugees from from Gormott and other assorted Titans. You have the people who work for the Praetorium, and I just want to say this is my least favorite part of the game was Indal. There are so many allusions to Catholicism as a whole.
Yeah.
It's like it's like this giant allegory where like the Praetor is like the Pope.
Yeah. It's definitely meant to be a religious sort of capital, I guess, where there's the grand figure.
It's essentially the Vatican.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Definitely.
So yeah, I mean, from here we're introduced to the Praetor. He's the guy who basically controls all the blades and how they are distributed, to the world.
And he even controls Malos.
Yes.
And yes, we haven't touched on this yet. Malos isn't a human. He's a blade himself, and not just a blade. He is an Aegis, just as Pyra and Mithra are.
Exactly.
But whereas Mithra is, and Pyra, I guess, are light and good, Malos is darkness and destruction, which is literally portrayed in their elements. Malos is a dark type blade. Mithra is a light blade. And it's...
Exactly. Yeah, so we get the backstory about how
their core crystals were found.
Yeah, he talked about how he had climbed to the world tree.
Mm-hmm.
He brought the core crystals down. He resonated with Malos. Malos seemed to have taken on the darker personality traits of the Praetor, and that's something we haven't touched on either. Is that when a blade resonates with a driver, they take on some subconscious pieces of them. For Fawn Lenore, she basically took on the entire form of her driver. She looked exactly like her driver. For Malos, he took the dark inhibitions of the Praetor and became something twisted.
Yes.
So yeah, like there's this slight thing where like the bond between blade and driver is deeper than just as a master weapon relationship. They actually
gain the traits, physical and social, mental traits, emotional even too.
Exactly. So we've learned about the Praetor. While all this is going down, Jin and Malos have infiltrated this. They found the ruins of an ancient civilization that More Ordained had found previously. Mm-hmm. And basically, there's this giant Titan weapon, and Jin decides that they need to take that over so that they can cause havoc, which basically sparks a war between
More Ordained and
Uriah. So
because More Ordained was in control of that, and then when Jin and Malos took the ancient weapon, they sort of fired it against Uriah. Which okay, do you think it's not Jin and Malos? That's clearly More Ordained, and they just opened fire with us with a massive weapon. We can't take that stand down.
You broke the peace treaty.
Mm-hmm. Which it wasn't even them. But, yeah. And we might even say that despite there being a peace treaty, More Ordained and Uriah, we've kind of been preparing for war this whole time as well.
Exactly, yeah. There are hints of it throughout the course of the game. Like you see More Ordained is actually recruiting anybody with driver capabilities
to join the military for the war.
They're just trying to like fill their ranks up, which you actually come back to that. One of the characters that you see resonate with a blade actually shows up in
side quests. Yeah, he does a lot of interesting side quests.
Yeah, the one with his father.
Yeah. When how it tied into his father was really crazy. Yeah, and that location was used again, right? Or no?
No, but I do.
Or similar location.
I think he shows up in Indal too, if I'm not mistaken. That guy could be.
Indal, he might. I'm not sure though.
But you throughout the course of the game, you've noticed that these two civilizations have been building their armies, preparing for war against one another, because this peace treaty is like paper thin. It's legitimately paper thin. At any point, these two societies can go at war with one another. And this was the catalyst. This is what brings out the forces. But Rex, Pyra, and the gang, they decide that this is wrong. Nobody from More Ordained has fired that weapon, and Morag makes it a huge point to accost another general, saying, "You were told not to activate this. You were told to cease operations." And he is like, "I was doing what was best for my people." And that was a really like heavy moment for Morag. Not only is it calls into it's like one of those moments where her power is called into question and her thought process, like what are you doing hanging out with these guys? You should be defending the kingdom. Like I am. And she's like, you were told not to. You were given a direct order from the king, who turns out to be Morag's little brother. So she has to participate because this is directly affecting her kingdom. Zeke wants to come because he's essentially an envoy of the Praetorium, and Rex just wants to do right. So him, Naya, and Tora, they all
Morag, yes.
And Morag. What is the name of this Titan?
I'm forgetting as well. It had an interesting name though. I liked the name of it. Temperantia?
Temperantia, yeah. But some of the best music in the game is here, definitely. By the way.
And I'm not sure if it's before or after, but there's like a meeting where the Aegis, Mithra, Pyra, Zeke, and the leaders of Moradane and Araya talk about like what happened. Was that before?
Yes,
or after?
that is after. So yes,
okay.
As after that. So they go to Temperantia, and they are fighting the Judicium Titan, which is the large weaponized Titan.
And it's also worth mentioning that's where we didn't even touch on with Cole, but Cole is a type of blade that we would refer to as a flesh eater, which is half human, half blade, which was meant to sort of create immortality, experiment during the war.
Yeah, it's a blade that essentially eats a human heart to extend its life. It's a really morbid.
Also creates it into a monster that sort of dies. Like it's Cole is going to die sooner than any other blade. It doesn't even no warrants because like Cole is dying, and no other blade is gonna really die. It's just that they're gonna be reborn. Cole just dies. It's worse, if anything. I mean, he keeps his memories, but he's gonna die permanently.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. So during this fight with the Judicium Titan, Jin basically finds he escapes, and Fan Lenore makes herself ever so useful, and she basically plops you down onto the Judicium Titan, and this was one of the easiest boss fights in the whole game. But
it was, for me, it was super easy, but I couldn't lower the health bar, and so I'm like, wait, what am I was attacking the wrong thing.
Exactly.
I was attacking the monster, not the thing behind it.
Exactly, the cables.
Yeah, and that kind of screwed me up for a little while. It was super easy though. Even like no matter how much I attacked, I was like just attacking the monster itself for like way too long. I'm like, I'm doing something wrong because I couldn't. But I never really died. It just went on for a very long time. I don't know.
Exactly. Okay, so after you destroy the beast, Jin comes out, and this is where we get this interesting moment where Pyra's like, why would you join up with Malos? You fought alongside Adam. You fought alongside me. Why have you taken up with Malos? And Jin's reply is he basically says, your fault. You're the reason why. And he basically tells he basically shows off that he himself is a flesh eater in this moment.
And it's also, we got touched on his sort of backstory of being the strongest man in Torna. Jin is the strongest man in Torna. Torna is a dead civilization. And so then he also talks about how, blades sort of go on to be reincarnated with no memories, and what a struggle that is to be reborn with no memories of your previous whatever. And that relates back to Fan Lenore's identity as well.
Exactly. After all this is said and
this
done,
monologuing,
he goes on to kill
Fan Lenore,
and like real death, like to steal a line from what's that new show on Netflix, Altered Carbon. He real deaths Fan Lenore by destroying her core crystal.
And not even that. She can't even turn back into her core crystal after that. When a blade normally dies or their driver dies, they just plop into core crystals again. That doesn't happen. She's just a human carcass, human corpse. It's a dead body.
Exactly. And it turns out during her funeral, Mithra seems to know why. And she points out that all of Fan Lenore's core crystal it's not in one piece.
Yes.
Like it is missing a piece of her core crystal.
Yeah.
All right. And then from there we where do we go?
But I'd also like to mention that loss of Fan Lenore is a big hit for Rex, because Rex doesn't want to lose people he cares about again. And Fan has just died, so that was another big death for Rex. Not nearly as big as Vandom or someone, but definitely an impactful loss for Rex. Trying to change his way of thinking still.
Yes. And after the funeral, that's that whole council scene where we see like how the politics work within these societies that you were speaking about, where Mithra, the king of Moradane, and the queen of Uriah are all having to sit down to explain what's happening with the Praetor as like a mediator, so to speak.
Yes.
And I guess Banna makes his return here in an assassination attempt. And he wants to assassinate all these world leaders who have come together, only for him to be stopped. But he's not stopped before he kills the king of Moradane. Mia tells Dromar to distract everybody.
Well, she resurrects the king.
Exactly, yeah. She brings him back from like true death or whatever.
Yeah.
Which nobody calls into question, really. They kind of just accept it. She's like, hasn't anyone heard of first aid?
Yeah, but then there's also the thing about Aegeon, which they kind of questioned that. The only thing they really questioned was that Aegeon, the king's blade, went into his core crystal form, which would only really happen if the king had died.
Exactly, and Aegeon will become Morag's blade later on.
Well, I actually never. I won't get into that actually about Aegeon, but anyways.
Did you not resonate him?
I never resonated him. No.
Oh man, he's one of the best blades in the game, especially for Morag.
I never. Yeah, he's still a crystal because I wasn't sure what I wanted to really do with him, so I never really bothered even looking at him. I guess is he only able to resonate with Morag?
Yeah, he's like only with Morag.
I've never even knew that. So I never even took a look at his core crystal.
That's funny. Oh man,
I don't want to know. I don't want to figure out who I want to put him on, and I just never even got around to it. And I didn't even know he can only be Morag. Okay, that changes everything. I'm stupid.
All right. So after this, we are sent to Tantal, the Kingdom of Snow.
Yes, it's also Zeke's homeland.
Exactly. And that Titan is Genbu is the name of the Titan.
Yes. And it's similar to Uriah, but it's cold-blooded or something. And that's why it hurts. The ether flow of blood in it is slow, which creates low temperatures.
Which basically means they have no crops. So this is a dying nation. And this is where Adam was said to have gone after, the Great Aegis War. This is where he took home, and that Zeke is supposedly
of his lineage,
blood relative. So we get there. Zeke, brings them to his father, the king. King turns out to be a huge douchebag, captures everybody, throws him in prison, but takes Pyra, tries to kill Pyra.
With the giant laser, mind you. That laser is too.
The gang, the crew, Rex and the crew get free of their prison cell. Thanks to Poppy being an artificial blade, they cannot restrict her ether flow.
And Morag planned this. She planned ahead for that.
Which just shows like what a brilliant tactician Morag is. She's kind of like the Piccolo of the XenoBlade team.
She knows exactly what she's doing of everything, and she never goes too trusting for this king she's never met. She's prepared just in case. She's very observant to know that they would need that specifically. It was shown she just looked at the walls and she's like, okay, yeah, we're gonna need you to store some ether, Poppy. And she knows her stuff, and she's very observant and very smart about it.
Exactly. So from there, after the gang breaks out, they head to go to see the pirate, but we are treated to this cutscene, a flashback cutscene of the king speaking with Zeke, in which he basically reveals that their family is a bloodline of usurpers.
Yes.
They were a bunch of common folk who
sort of just rose to the occasion and said, we're Adam's lineage. Follow us.
Well, yeah, they basically use like the cover of war and the confusion that war leaves behind to basically say, hey, we're the royal bloodline. Follow us. Turns out to be all BS, And Zeke, the guy who has the most to benefit from this lie, rejects it. He's like, no, this is wrong.
That's not how you lead people. because his nation is dying.
Exactly.
Going back to they don't have crops. They don't have the ability to get food on their own Titan. Yet the government, the king, the whatever, restricts them from leaving, really. And so they aren't allowed to go to other Titans for food.
So which creates a huge black market.
Yes. So all the food that they need to survive is on the black market.
Yeah, and that's really the only thing keeping that society afloat is that black market.
Mm-hmm.
And just this brilliant thing where I just love that moment where like Zeke rejects his his father. Because
he's always rejected him though.
But he rejects like the lie.
Mm-hmm.
Like even though that there's a benefit for him, like obviously he's like he could be king, he could rule, and ultimately he could change this as king. He could change this world or this nation.
Yeah,
but he rejects that. He's like, no, I'm going with these people because they are who really need me right now.
And also. The hopes of Elysium to save his people on Elysium were more important than just him saving as king.
Exactly. He just rejects his father in this great, brilliant cutscene. His father literally, again, tries to kill Pyra with the laser. The team manages to save her. And is it... Okay.
Genbu pretty much goes self-destruct.
Exactly, yeah. Pretty much after that laser fire,
they have 90 minutes, which I spent like 6 days or longer taking full advantage of those 90 minutes, just grinding things out.
Exactly. They're like, yeah, you have 90 minutes before this Titan goes so deep that
it kills itself to air pressure.
Exactly. All the people will dude. Okay, we have to later on. I want to talk about how BS that is. Because of this little place called Mortha.
And also, like, the whole game is very story driven, and it sort of tries to lead you from one cutscene to the next very, very quickly. So it wants to get you through the story as fast as possible. But there's never a sense of urgency. Even when it says you have 90 minutes until we all die, there's no urgency ever, and I don't like that.
There's no timer floating above you.
No.
There's no like
which is appreciated because maybe I don't want to just progress the story, but like also it just feels weird that I could just do grinding side quests when this Tantal nation is gonna die. I don't know.
So basically, the only way to stop Genbu from falling to its imminent doom is to reestablish the connection between Pandoria, who is Zeke's blade, and Genbu, the Titan, because she can't speak to the Titan right now because its brain has been frazzled by shooting off that cannon.
Yeah.
So they have to go to the bottom of Tantal, Genbu, and reach its core, which is its brain. Oh my god, this was so long to get there. It is so long. Yeah. But once you get to the bottom of it, you set things right. The team is attacked by Akos, Mikhail, Petroka, Jin, and Malos. Everybody from Torna has come to this party. And we have this amazing fight scene where not even using foresight can Rex actually stand up to Jin's light speed. And he has Rex in a position where he's like, I'm going to kill you. This is going to happen. You are going to die. You have lost. This has all been futile. We are taking this girl. Pyra, out of nowhere, takes possession of not Ophion, the other. What is the name of her? Of the other. The mech.
The mech. Not the Aegis treasures, but like they're sort of things the Aegis control. There's Ophion on the other one, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I know what you're saying now.
The Artifice.
Artifice. Yes. Okay. Yeah.
And I'm trying to remember what the other Artifice is. I'm looking it up because it's gonna bother me if I don't remember its name. Okay. Aeon.
Yeah, Aeon.
All right. So Pyra, who her artifice is Ophion, which was the cloud serpent that we had seen earlier at the World Tree.
Attacked them when they went into Orion.
Exactly. Pyra takes control of Mithra's artifice, which is Aeon.
Mm-hmm.
And that shouldn't be allowed to happen because Pyra has Ophion, Mithra has Aeon, and they control them separately. But she uses like all of her power to control Aeon and say, I will kill myself if you don't leave them alone. I will 100% kill myself and you won't have me, and whatever you're planning cannot come to pass.
Mm-hmm.
Malos takes this threat seriously, and so does Jin, and they said fine. So they don't kill Rex in the party. They just take Pyra with them, and they go. Rex faints, awakens like 5 days later at the hotel.
Yeah.
They're told what happens. Rex becomes like super doom and gloom, like emo. I couldn't save her. I couldn't save her. It's all my fault. I'm not strong enough. And it's this whole thing where everybody takes a shot at Rex in this moment. Like everyone, like Bridget slaps him, Nia punches him, and then you think Poppy's about to bust his ass wide open, and then Poppy, like pulling at the heartstrings. No, Pyra does not want to see Rex hurt. Poppy, and Tora look up to Rex. We are not real drivers. We are not real blades. Blah blah blah. And I'm like, damn it, Poppy, stop it.
Just hit me and be done with it.
So Poppy gets Rex back in order. The team decides that Rex needs to truly become the Aegis driver. The Aegis driver. And Gramps decides that he's going to make himself truly useful by saying, like, I have the critical information that you have all been seeking throughout the course of this game, but I haven't said anything up until this point.
Yeah.
What's it called? Ex Machina.
Oh yeah.
Just a little Ex Machina going on there. So they all have to go back to Leftheria, and this is where they explain the beginning of the game. They go to the pillar of the pillar of Adam.
Yes.
And they it can only be opened by somebody from Leftheria. Which is the whole reason why they needed
Rex in the first.
Exactly. Because Adam had hid Pyra away in one location, but he had hid her true blade away in another. Which takes you down to basically the innards of the archipelago, the Leftherian archipelago. And nobody who has entered this cavern has ever come back out. So there's a real danger here, and once all the characters here, they realize they are weakened, severely weakened. It is in this moment that we are given Zeke's backstory about how Zeke actually is a blade eater, that he actually has a piece of Pandoria keeping him alive, similar to how Jin and Cole have pieces of human drivers in their system. So it is basically it's how Rex and Pyra exist, where Rex has...
But it's more of a coexistence than vice versa with them. It's more like they have a bit of each other, whereas, Zeke has a bit of Pandoria and Cole has a bit of human.
Yeah, they never actually implicitly state who Cole's driver was.
Well, they did. The Praetor. The Praetor is Cole's driver. But
you're right.
It's just weird to think that he is a flesh eater and the Praetor is his driver. The Praetor's got a lot of messed up things.
Oh yeah.
That he can't even explain himself, I'm sure.
So we get Zeke's backstory about how they were attacked by like marauders and they almost killed Zeke, and Pandoria really had this moment where she freaked out because you can tell that Pandoria is in fact in love with Zeke. It is not uncommon for blades and drivers to have this kind of relationship. And she doesn't want to forget Zeke. She doesn't. She doesn't want to return to her core and forget him. And that's where the Praetor comes back into play. He sees this and he takes pity on Pandoria.
Yeah.
And he infuses a piece of her into Zeke.
Yeah.
We also find out Nia's backstory here.
Yes.
Where we not only find out that Nia is a blade, but she is in fact a flesh-eating blade. She has a piece of her sister.
Yeah.
Or what they call her sister, but her Nia's backstory is complex.
Yeah.
But we find out that Nia is a blade, and not only is she a blade, but she's like the most badass blade in the whole game, and the most useful blade in the whole game. And this is the moment where I found redemption in the character, because I was like, hey, I don't hate you anymore because you are useful. You are moving the story along. And I enjoyed that the fact that we get to see Nia become a more powerful, useful thing in this game, other than what she had been. So once you do that, Rex gets the true blade, and it dissolves.
Yeah.
And he just decides, hey, we're gonna go save Pyra and Mithra without this. And they go rescue Pyra and Mithra in what is this name of this? So many cities.
Yeah.
So many cities. I was wrong. It's not Aeon, it's Siren.
Oh, shoot.
Okay, the Cliffs of Moritha. That's what we are. That's where we are.
Yes.
Yes, so they go to the Cliffs of Moritha, and we get this cool revelation that you have your first true fight with Malos. Like, just Malos. Where it's revealed that Malos is a Monado.
Yeah.
Which is like,
Monado.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Which is another nice little tie into the original Xenoblade game. Which is pretty badass. That fight was difficult for me because I'm stupid. And I accidentally unequipped my entire party. And I was just fighting him as Rex.
Oh.
I didn't even know that was a thing you could do. And I almost won. Oh well. Once I finally figured my life out, put things back in order.
Okay.
But that fight happens, and you think that you've actually kind of killed Malos for a bit, but no. He comes back, and you find out that he's been torturing Pyra and Mithra while they're in like this dreamlike state. He restores his own core crystal because his core crystal was damaged during the Aegis War by Pyra.
Yes.
Restores his core crystal. By Mithra. And when he does that, he actually takes control of Mithra's Titan, Siren. And Pyra has a choice. She can either die or she could fight alongside Rex. And Rex is like, I can't do this without you. I need you. And Mithra and Pyra finally decide that they want to be with Rex. They love the world and they want to protect the world. So we finally see Mithra's true form, which is awesome. The green hair, the awesome costume, the Tron costume is what I like to call it.
And it's just funny to think too, because Mithra is Pyra's true form already. It's sort of like just breaking the limits of power again and again.
Yeah, it's like a Super Saiyan God.
Yeah, almost. Yeah, totally. So you have this power cap that's established. She is the Aegis. There's nothing more powerful than her. And Malos, they are the two equals of power. Well, no, Malos is a Monado. He's going to go, woo, of power. But then true form Mithra, boom, also just blows the cap out of the water.
Exactly. And honestly, epic fight scene culminates in them destroying the battlefield that they're on and falling into Moritha beneath the Cloud Sea. And it turns out that Moritha is like the ancient ruins of like our civilization. Like our real world civilization. Like the world that you and I currently live in.
Yeah. It's
just like real, and it's like, what the hell is happening here?
Yeah. I don't understand either. I mean, to an extent, it could have if they treated it a bit tied into X a bit more, but I don't know.
Yeah. But yeah, so we're in Mortha. Jin has been severely damaged with during the fight between Mithra, Super Mithra, and Rex. But they decide that they're gonna save him while he's being attacked by this weird semi-blade looking thing.
Yeah.
And the whole party is separated. But it is here that we find out that Rex is now the Aegis driver, so he has control over any blade that his party has resonated with. So you go on your quest to find everybody in the party, fight a couple awesome unique beasts, make your way to get everybody back together, and make your way to the base of the world tree.
Yes.
This is where things get weird, man. So they get to the bottom of the world tree, and the inside of the tree is mechanical.
Yeah.
So
it's not like any tree I've ever seen grow naturally from the earth.
Exactly. So they decide to Pyra or Mithra finds an elevator within the tree. You gradually progress up the tree. You get to about the midpoint. At the midpoint of the tree, all out war is happening because the Praetor has taken control of the Titan Indal and has taken it to the world tree, and the members of Torna are also there trying to get to the world tree. So what I love about this game is that everybody is going to the world tree. They're all trying to get to Elysium to meet the architect, the creator of this world. They all have different reasons.
Yes.
So the Praetor wants to meet his creator and kind of destroy his creator. Yeah. Malos wants to meet his creator and destroy his creator. Pyra and them want to meet their creator and ask questions.
Yeah.
Now, you have two groups that have the same goal, but because of the ideals that each of these groups has, they can't join forces because the Praetor is trying to fundamentally establish his religion, essentially, as the driving force, as the cause. Like, we're going to destroy the world, but it has to be the church that does it. And Torna, like, we're going to destroy the world, but it has to be done by Blaze because humans are corrupt. And, Rex and the gang, they literally just want to save the world.
Yeah.
From these two opposing groups who each have a common goal but cannot work together because of ideology. Yeah. That is just brilliant storytelling. That is what really made me appreciate this, because here in the middle of the world tree, you see these two groups with clashing ideals coming to all-out war, and the Praetor has taken control of numerous titans. He brings out more Ordain. He brings out Gembu. He brings out Indal, and they are all attacking the Torna ship, which turns out to be a Gundam transformer, and starts literally going like hand-to-hand combat against the Titan when he's like starts beating the crap out of the Indal Titan. I was like, oh my god, I don't even know what's happening anymore, but I love it.
Yeah.
Rex and them are like, we have to get to the top. We have to stop all of this. They go to the top. They go back. They get back on track. They start going to the top. They finally get to Elysium and it is not what was promised.
No.
It is a wasteland. The coolest thing about it, though, is that the top of the world tree is outer space.
Yeah.
They're legitimately in outer space.
Yeah.
At the top of the world tree. And I'm like, oh, this game doesn't even make sense anymore.
No.
But yeah, they find Elysium, and it is a wasteland. They start scouring the wasteland, trying to find any signs of hope. And at this point, you can tell Rex has been broken by this.
Yeah.
Like,
it was supposed to be a salvation for him and everyone in the world, of these dying titans, of the starving people, it was a promise that was meant to be saving the world. You can't save the world if everything that you thought you had of hope and fertile soil and whatnot is all dead. It's all wasteland.
So this fundamentally breaks Rex, but he doesn't quite give up. But like you could tell he's not in it anymore. They find their way to a church, and they enter the church. They find like a secret passage that under the church, and once under the church, things get really weird. Rex is separated from the party and has to battle all of his friends. Yeah. They've like all turned on him, and they're like, "This is your fault. It's like we all believed in you, and you led us to nothing." So Rex must fight his way through the party. Once he does so, he ends up, the last trial he has is he's back in Leftheria in his hometown, with Pirate and Mithra. But their personalities have swapped. Yeah. And this is it. This is the final straw. Rex can't take it anymore. He just breaks down. He starts crying. He's like, "What have I done wrong?" And he's just broken. And out of nowhere, Pyra goes, "Father, I think that's enough." Turns out this was all a simulation that showed all of the members' true inner feelings. Like, it's like the darkest parts of them, their fear. And they are shown this by the architect, who is the same voice actor as Shulk, by the way. Yeah. About that. Just a little tidbit there. Same voice actor Shulk, which I'm like, oh, you can't get away with this. But from here we find out what the architect is and who he is and what he has done, which leads us to the point where we have to start making connections between this game and XenoBlade Chronicles. So all of XenoBlade Chronicles leads up to finding out who Zansa really is. Zansa is the big bad. Yeah. He essentially is the embodiment of Makanis, the Titan Makanis in that game. Zansa is a god. Yeah. But we find out about what is his true name. I shouldn't forget his real name.
Same.
This is why we keep our notes open. The architect. And this is why we have editing. Klaus.
All right, cool.
Klaus. All right. So the architect starts telling his backstory. And the architect was originally a scientist named Klaus. In the top of the world tree, in outer space, what we've established is Elysium. Elysium is that. The world tree is actually under attack by a group that we're never really told who is who. And they have a defense mechanism in place that they need to activate. And the only person that can activate it is Klaus, but he is doing something else. Klaus has found a way to kind of create a new universe. Or so he thinks. And he's like, only God had this power. Now mankind is one step closer to being gods. Activates this power. Creates this new universe. But in doing so, destroys the old one. Killing, not really killing, but killing a good number of people and sending a lot of people away, including half of himself. So they get sent away to a new universe. That new universe is actually the universe of Xenoblade 1. Yeah. And the half of him that is gone is Zansa. Is what will become Zansa. Yeah. And the half of him that remained is what we know as the architect. So he starts explaining that I created, in my grief, I created this universe to correct the mistakes. Blades essentially are a byproduct of that, and humans are all evolved from blades, and it's so confusing, but it's essentially like he's created this new universe because he wants to fix the mistakes that he's made. But he himself is dying. And he knows that his other half is dying as well. And he knows that once his other half dies, he will die. His other half being Sansa. And he explains this. Pyra thanks, Rex thanks the architect for creating them. And they go off to go stop Malos. And I love this part because in this moment we hear Shulk's voice saying, "Today we will take down a god." And I'm like, holy fuck. Holy fuck. Because this whole game, there have only been little connections. And right here, the whole shit is blown out of the water. This is a true sequel to Xenoblade 1. They are not only is it a sequel, but they are happening parallel to it.
Yeah, at the same time.
Exactly. So when the shit is hitting the fan for Shulk, the shit is hitting
the fan for Rex.
Like, they are parallel, simultaneously happening. The architect's death will happen at the exact same moment
that Sansa.
That is fuckery. But I call fuckery on Nintendo because I'm like, you lied. You said there were no connections. This is BS. I went into this wholeheartedly. If I had remembered, I would have replayed Xenoblade 1. And now I have to go back and be like, what is different here? Then there are some differences between the backstory that Klaus tells and the backstory that Sansa would reflect on. And I have a theory about this. And I just want to briefly touch on this. The story that Klaus tells, or the architect tells, the planet, the world tree is under attack by an unknown force. But the story that Sansa tells, there is no such attack taking place when he creates this new universe. Also, when Sansa is telling the story, there is no, like he tells us, like, only God, I'm literally going to do this. He said, only God could create planets or create a universe. Now man is one step closer to God. But when the architect tells the story, it's more sinister. Only God could create a universe. But now man is one step closer to God. There's a sense of arrogance when the architect tells the story versus when Sansa tells the story. And my theory is that because the architect is remorseful over the destruction of the universe, he's telling a more accurate version of what went into creating these two parallel universes. Whereas Sansa, he's the evil embodiment of Klaus, and he doesn't feel that same remorse. So when he tells a story, it wasn't about arrogance. It was literally just about, I'm creating a universe. And it's just as minor detail, or it just could be that they just wanted to change it up. But in my head canon, that's why the stories are even though the cutscenes are almost identical, they're slightly different.
And one thing that's been bugging me is X in this whole thing, and I almost have to wonder if we see at the base of the cliffs, at the very bottom of those cliffs, is our current civilization. Could that be planet Mira from X, or maybe Earth that was destroyed in the beginning of X? And that's what's been bugging me, because clearly they're all connected. And there's the Nopon, there's all this stuff, and it's gotta be. But it's also, X is just the weird outlier still.
See, in my brain, in my head canon, X is the universe that Shulk creates once he becomes the new god.
Okay.
That's how I kind of see it, and I know like they have to leave the world that Shulk created, but he created a universe. It's his universe.
Yeah, all right.
So they're moving to a different part of his. I don't know. It's
all right.
There needs to be a better way to connect X into the.
Yeah, I mean, Xenoblade 3 or Xenoblade X2, and then I don't know.
All right. So finally, we move into this whole battle with Malos and Rex, where Malos has taken control of Aeon, which is the biggest artifice of them all.
Yes.
And it's a great fight scene. He sends out all these other mechs or artifices at you, and you kind of destroy them. That's not a hard boss fight, but
no.
it's pretty satisfying.
Yeah,
At that moment,
it's almost similar to Kid Icarus Uprising. Those final bosses where it's like it's not that hard. Like the first half is kind of hard, and then like you get like the weapon. It's just like you blast him. It's like all you had to do was blast him. Hades. It's all you had to do was that, but it feels so satisfying after all that build up and all this badassery that Pit has acquired. So it's very reminiscent of that to me.
Yeah,
but it's just it just feels good, even though it's super easy.
Exactly. So after Mouse is defeated, Klaus, the architect, Sansa, all they all die simultaneously because they're all one and the same. And the world tree starts coming down, and it's going to destroy everything. It's going to destroy the planet if they don't do something about it. So Pyra tells them that there's a way to stop it, but they have to go down. So they believe Pyra. They all go down. Turns out Pyra's lying. She actually sent them to like the shuttle bay so that they could escape. But before they do that, she actually stops Poppy and tells Poppy. She whispers something to Poppy. When they get to the shuttle bay, Pyra destroys the bridge and stands on the opposite side. Rex wants to go save her. His hook shot isn't long enough. He asks Poppy to fly him over. Poppy says she can't because she promised Pyra that she wouldn't because Pyra doesn't want Rex to die, there. And nobody wants Pyra to die, but they don't have a choice. She has to stay there and destroy the world tree from within. Which this emotional scene where like Zeke shows that like he's a real OG dude. He's like, this is the woman you love. Respect her choices. You have to do this for her. It sucks, but this is what being a grown up is all about. Rex is heartbroken, but eventually realizes that the right thing to do is get on a plane with his friends and leaves. Mithra takes control of the plane and sends them out of the world tree. They go back down towards the Earth. Upon re-entry, the damn shuttle blows up, and everybody's falling to their death. But Gramps, because I can't say his name, Gramps decides that it's time to revert back to his true giant form and flies everybody. But before the world tree collapses, Klaus says something along the lines of, "There's one last thing I can do." Right? So as they're floating back, on Acerta's back, they start to notice that all the Titans are gathering into the water and forming a giant landmass. And that Elysium was there all along. It was Elysium is essentially the reformations of the Titans back into the landmass. We have this moment where like the gang is like happy that they finally made it to Elysium. It was here all along. But Rex is still kind of pinched with the pain that Pyra and Mithra had to die in order for this to happen. He's holding on to his fraction of the core crystal that was once keeping, him alive, and he has it there, and it starts to glow. Then Pyra and Mithra come back down, and they're all with their group again, and that's it. We have a happy ending where none of the primary characters in the party had to die. I love this game, man. I really do.
It is. It's great, mind-blowing end, just like the first, but even more so because they tied it in and just out of nowhere. But it's you're right. The reflection you do afterwards is, it's very real, and it's.
Well, for me, for me, I was gonna say that the reflection came upon the realization that Klaus, or that the architect and Sansa
are the same.
Or one of the same.
Yes.
That's where my reflection really. That's where the reflection happened for me because I'm like, these two parallel universes were. So basically, when Shulk takes control of the Monado, that's in that exact moment, Rex
has awakened Pyra.
Exactly, he's resonated with Pyra. He's become her driver. Like he realized that these two stories have been moving at the exact same pace. everything that Rex and then then you start to notice the similarities between Rex and Shulk a lot more, where Rex has the foresight, or I'm sorry, Shulk has the foresight. Rex also has it, but to a lesser extent. But Rex probably has the more powerful blade of the two of them.
Yeah.
And you start to see their parallels, and it's really, really good, and it's a lot of reflection. And after all that reflection, I was thinking to myself, I was like, which game do I like better? Ultimately, it comes down to I thought Xenoblade Chronicles 2 had the I actually enjoyed the story more in Xenoblade Chronicles 2 because of the way it ties those two games together.
And I think I would have to agree on that. Although, at the end of the day, I still think the best game was X. And they are all phenomenal. But X is just so fun to play. It had gameplay down. The only things that grinding was a lot worse in X. And I wish, kind of to an extent, that X had a similar layout to the combat as 2 had. Because 2 really streamlined a lot of the combat.
Yeah. And I think Xenoblade Chronicles 2 has some great combat.
Yeah, it does. All of the games have great combat.
It really builds on X's combat. But graphically, this is one of the most beautiful games on the Switch. It's I think the only game that I would rate higher than this graphically is Odyssey. But not all the time. Like, there are parts of Xenoblade Chronicles 2 that look better than Odyssey. But again, I spent a lot of time reflecting after I beat this game. It like got me, man. I'm like, damn, man, like that, the way they made those two games connect, like the fact that Zanza and the architect are one of the same, like that wasn't something I was expecting. I wasn't like, especially because Nintendo told us that, like, don't expect anything. Like, you might see some subtle things, like no pawns exist, and that's it. That's the real only connection.
And when they announced 2, I'm like, all right, I sort of had an idea that there might be something similar to what they actually did end up doing. And Nintendo sort of said, no, they're completely different, just like X was. Okay, sure. And because I don't know. I'm kind of glad that they sort of threw that red herring, though, at least for my sake, because I'm the guy who somehow always guesses the ending, and I would have totally guessed it had they not told me it wasn't how it ended. Pretty much, they weren't connected. So I'm the guy who always figures it out.
Well, normally when I play a game like this, like a sequel, I kind of like to go back and revisit the first.
Halfway through my playthrough, I rebought 3D on 3DS.
Yeah, and I'm like, I would have gone back and replayed this game on the Wii because I just would have enjoyed. First off, I would have enjoyed playing it again. I mean, I've played that game since it first came out on the Wii. I mean, but it is a game that kind of sticks with you.
Definitely, yes.
Just like this one does. It'll stick with you. Like, you'll think about it for a while afterwards. But it would have been nice because I would have liked to have a refresher course on that cutscene where, like, the cutscenes where Zanza is explaining.
I'm sure you could find someone who's put them side by side on YouTube.
Well, I did. I found it on YouTube. I watched, and that's how I was able to really tell the difference between like the version of the
arrogant version and the
exactly.
Yeah.
And I was like I said, it could have been just the developers saying, or Microsoft saying, basically, hey, we want to just differentiate them a little bit, just fiddle around with it. But in my head canon, I see that as you're hearing the same story, but from the perspective of an evil side and a somewhat benevolent side. Benevolent side. There we go. I got it eventually. Like, you're hearing like the two different versions of it from these two, very differing personalities.
Yeah.
And I thought that to me is like where the brilliance is. It's like, it could be an unintentional consequence, but in my mind, it's 100% intentional. That was the goal. They wanted people to take notice of that. Now, that's the problem. If somebody hasn't played Xenoblade 1, they are missing out on it.
Yeah. And it's worth mentioning that a lot of the Xenoblade games I don't want to say sell well, because they are very popular good games, but they release at very, very bad times and thusly suffer in terms of sales. And even if it's not a bad time for the console itself isn't a good console, where in the Wii U's case, X is phenomenal, but no one played XenoBlade Chronicles X because it's on the Wii U. No one had a Wii U. Exactly. And that was the really big drawback from that. And so it's like you have XenoBlade Chronicles, which released on the end of the Wii's life cycle when no one wanted a Wii anymore. You have X, which released on the Wii U. And then you have the entire like Xenosaga games, Xenogear from the previous, before it was like a Nintendo thing, were all released at very poor times still, and that's why they're also unknown. A lot more people know Xenoblade than Xenogear, but that's only because those games were released at very weird, poor times as well. This is the only time where a Xenoblade game has been released in a time when people are paying attention to the console.
Oh, exactly. Well, and it doesn't hurt that this is like the console is like forcing people to buy it. Like we discussed it earlier, 14.98 million units. So
yeah,
best console, perfect console to release it on, and it came out at the right time too. It's like at the tail end of the year where like all the other big games have been played already. It just perfect timing.
Yeah,
but I thoroughly enjoyed it. But man, let's start wrapping things up. What are your final thoughts on XenoBlade Chronicles 2?
Oh, sorry. Sorry. It was an experience. After playing 1 and playing X, I knew I was in for something grand. In terms of the actual environments, I thought they were probably smaller than X. Definitely X, and from the first one, I thought the environments were all kind of smaller, which was kind of disappointing. But the story was definitely a great build on the first, how it tied in these multiple universes. Zansa and the Architect, as you said, that sort of whole, they're parallel going at the same time, are super cool. And it's a great game. I know a lot of people are like missing out on it still just because they're not JRPG fans, which is sad, but if it's not your thing, it's not your thing. But they are beautiful games. And a lot of people, I think you're right, are going to miss out on that sort of connection too, for it being just... it ties in so well with the first. You can't you lose something when you don't play the first, definitely. But it's the gameplay wise, you'll more than make up for it. It's a fantastic RPG that you can just have an RPG experience with as well.
Yeah, for me, I said it when we started this conversation. There are not a whole lot of games that I've played in my life that have made me truly reflect on the story and the characters the way I have with this game. I've played a lot of great games in 2017. Breath of the Wild, Mario Odyssey, ARMS. None of them had none of them came close to being as story driven and as like moving as XenoBlade Chronicles 2 has been for me.
I mean, the Xenoblade not X series has been very story based, and they've had great stories out of like the 2. And so I knew I was getting a grand, awesome story when I went into it, and I was very pleased with what I got.
It's true. But all right, guys, we've gone on super long.
Yeah,
and, we've
deep dive.
We
only covered the entire plot from beginning to end.
Exactly. I mean, but we got to say our piece. I mean,
yeah, because there's a lot to just talk about with this story. A lot of thoughts.
So much stuff that we truly just glossed over. We glossed, like for a spoiler cast, like we glossed over a lot, and that's because other than the biggest connection in the game, I there was no way we were getting around not spoiling that. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like, it was so good. But I'm glad to have beaten that game. I'm glad to have participated in this deep dive. And like I said, we are going to be working on another scripted series, one that really explores XenoBlade a lot more thoroughly than what we've done here. Today was mostly about just talking about our initial thoughts, how we felt about the game,
and the story. Yes.
Yeah. So you guys should be looking forward to some like really awesome scripted stuff from us, like Wild Odyssey. And if you haven't seen Wild Odyssey, make sure you guys watch that because we all worked really hard on that series to bring it to life, and it's so very good. 5 episodes down. We only got 1 more to go. So you guys should be expecting that pretty soon this week, okay? As for me, you can hit me up on Twitter at nice1983, and you can email me at nice1983@gmail.com. Blues, any social media links you want to throw out there?
Yes. You can follow me on Twitter, which is at the King Blues on Twitter, and I will be posting my stream schedules like when I'm about to stream on Twitter as well. We're streaming on my own channel, Dragon Quest Builders. And on this channel, once it comes out, we'll be streaming Bayonetta 1, and we're going to be going through the entire series. So after that, we're going to eventually get to Bayonetta 2, and then 3 whenever 3 comes out. And you can follow the Twitch page for me at twitch.tv/TheKingBlues. But other than that, I think that's my media links. I finally have them. They're set up. We've started streaming officially for Dragon Quest Builders, which is super cool. I'm having a lot of fun. And Bayonetta comes out this Friday, I believe, and I'm stoked. I'm absolutely stoked. I played the first and most of the second on the Wii U, and I'm glad to revisit these.
Yeah, they're going to be fun games to go ahead and get a chance to replay, and especially with the portable aspect. But anyway, guys, that's going to be it from us. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Thank you so much for watching. We're back. We promise the vacation is over. We're not gonna be gone this long again. So you look forward to seeing us very soon. Don't forget to watch Wild Odyssey. Deuces.